So let's not waste any more time and introduce our today's contestants. In the blue corner, we have our defending champion, professional golfer, and a great all-around guy, YouTuber, and the host of Flex Trading Room. With more than 20 years of experience in the markets, he's determined to keep his champion status. Welcome back, Chris Pulver, champion.
Thanks for having me.
Nice All right, everybody. And in the red corner, making his first appearance in the ring, the expert once served in the military before building a multi-million-dollar business. He now spends his day educating others on how to trade successfully. Host of How to Trade It podcast, one of the great podcasts out there. Welcome to the show, Casey Stubbs.
All right, thanks, Boris.
Hey, Chris, Casey, how are you?
Good.
Very good. Good to see you, man. Where's my friend Chris? Did we lose Chris for a second? There he is. Now we got him. We got him back. Chris, say hi to us. All right, let's just say hi to everybody. Chris is good. Consensus view here, 674 is what is the consensus view, but I think the market really is looking for about 800,000. ADPs came out much stronger yesterday, so I think everybody's expecting a big burst in employment gains. Be very interesting to see, because if we have a second disappointment in non-farm payrolls in a row, it's really, really going to sabotage this whole the world is recovering at an insane pace and inflation is going to run away from us situation. And I think it's it'll be very interesting. It may flip the dollar around completely the opposite way. So we'll have to see how those numbers. I know Casey has a view. So let's talk to Casey a little bit about what do you think ahead of the non-farm payrolls? What's your favorite position, and what would you like to do?
Well, I've been, as I was sharing before, I've been watching the US yen. I broke a really key level on the weekly time frame, which is pretty strong, and it's been holding up really well. And I think partially it's been waiting for today's announcement. I think it's been actually waiting. The market is just it's hanging there, waiting for today. For our trading battle, actually, is why it's been waiting. But I would go long on the USD yen today because I think we're going to get some good news. And of course, I honestly don't have inside information there, but I would really like to see good news, and I would like to see that break out, and I think it could start a long-term trend if we get a strong move here today.
So speaking of that, dollar yen 110 right now, 10 years at 162, basically flat on the day. Let's say non-farms does print hot. I mean, maybe it prints super hot to almost a million. That obviously is going to spike everything out. But if you have a long-term view sort of on the growth of the U.S. economy, does that suggest that you're looking dollar yen? Like what would be your technical target in dollar yen? Where would your first serious take profit would be at what level?
I'm really looking at about the 120 level, and primarily it's technical.
Wow, that's huge. It is 10 big figures.
That is true. It's a lot of movement. But if you look at the historical charts, the yen does move like that, and it does trend pretty nicely. And so this key level that it has broken, which is what I'm looking at as a weekly and a monthly trend line, if we get the continuation, it definitely can continue to move.
I'm
just looking at weekly charts for further out resistance levels is what I was targeting.
I mean, dollar yen has been at 118 last time in 2017. So it's been quite a long time since we've seen those. Let's go back to Casey for a second. Casey, how's your positions going? How are those stops going? Are you managing?
Well, my best trade is Chris's trade. So that's great. Thank you. And I'm managing it.
Hardly up.
I'm up about $170, and what I like about it is I was just looking at it on an hourly time frame first. Is it's breaking out pretty strong here, and there's a consolidation period. You see how it's been really flat and consolidating, and so if we can continue with a little bit of momentum and break on a daily time frame, it's a nice consolidation and just a step which could be another level. So I'm definitely going to manage this and hope that we get a little bit more momentum in the next couple of days when we finally close out. Might be a really nice trade. So that's what I'm. It still hasn't broken out of the range yet, so it's not decided. But if it can get out of this consolidation pattern, that would be really good.
By the way, hey, so euro is spiking here. Pound is strong. Anybody want to fade any of those? Like, do you think that U.S. dollar, stages a little bit of a comeback here? Let's take a look at those pairs post-event.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an update here. I've got this currency strength chart running. I'll bring it up on my screen. So I watch this every 5 minutes. We get a nice little update. So at 8:40, I'm going to see where this dollar, because we might see the dollar bottom off this and see, the Aussie and the New Zealand start to dip. So I think the dollar ends up fading off of some of these pops. So I would be looking for at least, just kind of
Chris,
a neutral position.
Can you bring us back to the currency strength chart? And
yeah, of course. Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about that? So for a lot of people who don't understand, what does this really show, and how are you using this in your analysis?
Yeah, so I look at this every day, and so basically this is the start of the trading day, and so you can see, like, as we roll into Asia session, as we roll into the London session, you can see that essentially we just expand in volatility. So more of the active zone trading through London session, US session, and so with the news this morning, you can see a lot more volatility, and so the winner of the day so far, according to 8:39 a.m. Eastern time, is we have the New Zealand and the Aussie the strongest. We have the dollar that just dropped from non-farm as the weakest. But what I want to look for here is this updates every 5 minutes. So in 1 minute, do we see this actually starting to bump off the lows and then see this start to dip off the highs, which means to me the news would be reacting of we had that strong push and flush out on the dollar, and then we start to neutralize that news, in the next maybe half hour or so. But that's what I use it for. Yeah, it's every 5 minutes. So, I mean, it's essentially a nice little screenshot of what's the strongest, what's the weakest. If I'm looking for opportunities on a daily basis, I'm usually referencing this to make sure that, I don't just have to arbitrarily scalp one currency pair. It's like, let's try to find what is strong versus weak and see how that looks in the larger context.
If you're just partially right, you're going to decimate the other guy's account.
Yeah, plus the hedge play was really smart too. That was my strategy didn't work out as well, but just to give you guys a basis, I didn't explain. My strategy was I went to a currency strength meter, just like what Chris did, and I looked at the absolute worst pairs over the last
top
month,
and bottom,
and that's what I picked. So that was my strategy.
So you picked the worst pairs.
Yeah, I picked the absolutely worst performers in the last 30 days.
30 days. So Chris was looking on the intraday charts. Were you looking like on sort of like a 30-day look back period? Is that how it was looking? Do you have it on your? Could you show us how you were looking at that? Do you have it on your screen or no?
Yeah, I actually use a tool that's really similar to Chris's. It's one that I created on my website. It's a currency tool.
Nice.
And you just, I just went through here. And I'm like, okay, CAD yen. This thing is really strong, so why not short it in the past month, right? And if you look at the chart, you can see it as well. And then I didn't want to pick the USD CAD because it was bottoming. But then I went with the pound yen and the New Zealand CAD. So I just get the top 5 worst pairs, and I would just pick the ones from there using this tool here.
Nice.
Got it. So
just the same tool that Chris uses. It's just displayed differently, really.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. It's great. That's a super interesting tool. I'm glad that you guys clearly the fact that both of you guys use it means that it really helps you in your day-to-day trading. We sort of stabilized a little bit. Markets are a little calmer. Dollar CAD almost back up to 2,100. One of the interesting things that you'll see Chris do right now, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that, is Chris will do a lot of what I call probative entry positions. He'll enter a small size position and just see how the market is acting, right? You'll have a thesis, you'll see how the market is acting, and then you may actually add small size if it goes against you up to a certain level to just kind of watch. One of the things you were telling me about before when we were talking before the show is that you had one of the greatest trades last year in Aussie Kiwi, where you traded it for like $100,000 profit over a 4-month period. And can you just run us quickly through how you traded that pair and the main thesis for why you traded that pair?
Sure. Let me bring it up here. Actually, I'll keep it. Let me open up on 8cap. I'll make Martin happy.
Sure.
All right, let's find Aussie New Zealand here. It's pretty easy to see on the daily chart. So let's go to the daily. Let's get rid of this grid. Candlestick, shift this over. Okay, so let's go back to, this is the trade right here. So I'll just highlight it. If everyone can see, this is the area that I'm focused on. And so what was created was we had some consolidation and the Aussie New Zealand right up here. And when I saw this break down, I was interested in buying it starting here and just leveling myself in with, like Boris said, the small trade sizes. And so that was essentially my thesis. I'm going to start here. I'm going to level myself in at major support, and I'm going to work my way down to, and this is 2020. So we're talking about a 5 and 6 year period of support. And so I had levels from 105 and 104 and 103 and 102 and 101. And I didn't get filled at 1.00 because it was just off of those lows during that COVID crash in March. But what I did do is these were all of what I just call test trades. Yes, I wanted to be long, and my target the whole time I'm getting long in the Aussie New Zealand was right here. That little inefficiency, that pocket on it was an RBNZ rate decision, or it was something where we just created this really nice inefficiency. So that was going to be my profit target. So I'll circle this in green. And that was going to be my destination to take profit eventually on the trade. So let me get this all green. There we go. So this is going to be my profit. So what ended up happening was I get filled small, I get filled small, I get filled small, I get filled small. And, I run a trading room, and I had a bunch of traders who are like, Chris, is this thing going to turn? I'm like, hey, if you don't like it, then you can get out of the trade. But when we saw this bottom, what I started to do was put buy stops, buy stops, buy stops, buy stops, buy stops. And I built myself back into this position. Once I cleared this level and everything was going my way, I just sat and held all of my positions until it hit profit. And so what started off as 4 or 5 trades ended up being like close. I had 18 trades running long, and that's when I closed out here once we hit that 107, 107.50 level.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you, those yellow levels that you drew, you had bought on each one of those?
Correct. They were all pending. So I was in, I'll go back to yellow like you said, so it makes it easier.
Like to summarize, Chris was limit buys on the downside, and when it turned, he became buy stop buys.
Wait a second. So when you say limit buy, it was
going against me. It was pending orders. Nope, pending orders when they're falling. Right. So let's start over. So it's like I had when this was created. Okay, when this was created, I'm like, let's see if I can get filled here if price falls, and it did. So I got filled level 1, and then my next level is right here, and I had pending buy at all these levels, and so I'm filled on all these trades. Then once we had our bottom, I switch over and I say, and I tell traders this a lot. There are multiple ways in which I'm willing to add to a trade. One is I'll just put a buy stop in. If I'm convinced, and again, I'm convincing myself if it's going my way, I'll put a buy stop in and just say, you know what, if it goes 50 pips, I'll get in. If it goes another 50 pips, I'll get in. And so that way it's not like I'm looking for pullbacks, I'm looking at Fibonacci's, I'm looking at trend line breaks. It's like if it's going to go up, I just want to get in. And so that's what I ended up doing is every 50 pips, I started separating buy stop levels and just got back in. And so this is price is going my way. And I just rode this thing as long as I could until this pocket was filled. And that's where I took profit. So it was, like I said, testing the small levels and then adding to the winner.
So was that your profit level from the beginning? That was where you wanted it to go.
Yep.
And that's great. So it just takes, that's a really good way to do it. It just takes a lot of patience, lot of patience.
Did the same thing there.
People struggle.
Did the same thing there. I mean, this pair has been really good to me. So again, hopefully it's not something that all of a sudden backfires on me, but I don't think, using daily and weekly charts and historical 5-6 year support resistance levels, it's pretty strong. So that's why we were talking about this before the show started. I was curious to see, does this Aussie New Zealand have the ability to do something like this? Let me change the color here, make it a little bit easier to see. Is it going to do do we have this run? Is this trying to make some type of corrective move here? Maybe it's a harmonic pattern. If that's the case, I'll be looking to buy in this area and take this back up into some type of structure. When in fact, this last week, I was like getting really excited about it because if I zoom in, okay, can we see this candle right here? I was like pumped. I was thinking this is going to be a great trade. Here we go again. I'm going to build up another position to target that RBNZ rate decision, but we turned right back around. So I was long at 106.30 and I took profit this week on it. But I was going to build a position to target that same candle. Instead, it just ended up paying me this week.
Let's take a look at the scoreboard as it stands now. We're going to have a mark-to-the-market numbers. I think, if I'm going to kind of guess, Chris is going to be a little bit up. I'm not sure.
I'm down 700 and he's up 100.
I'm up 115.
He's way ahead of me.
Right. So Chris is way ahead of you, but the game doesn't go to the fastest. It goes to to those who hold on the longest. So Chris so far seems to be repeating. His defending champion, is holding his title for the time being. Partly because he really killed Casey with the dollar Mex trade, which was a brilliant tactical move. But things can really turn around, especially even before the end of the day today, if dollar yen goes bid. So I'm going to watch that very carefully. It's been super fun, guys. We've had a great session. I hope everybody really enjoyed it.